Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of Dr. Nick's Toy Time Machine. Today we're going to be talking about the wonderful action figures from the early 90s, WWF Hasbro's. Now these figures started in 1990 and ended in 1994. These took over the LJN series, which ended in 1989, which you guys remember were basically huge blocks of rubber. These came out in 1990. They were, well, considerably smaller, and they came with different action features. Each figure had a different action. You know, their arms would punch, their legs you'd press down and they would jump, so on and so forth. And we are going to start out with one of my favorites, and I do mean one of my biggest favorites when it comes to the Hasbro figures. It's very detailed, it's really unique, and fortunately enough, it was actually, the figure of the good version of this character. You may recognize this theme. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this right here is Doink the Clown. Now, this right here is the Matt Bourne, not the crappy Ray Apollo gimmick that took over years later. This was the evil Doink, very, very talented gentleman. Unfortunately, he is no longer with us. This character was definitely made by this guy. Ray Apollo is, I won't even go into it. But if you can see here, this is really cool because they actually put synthetic hair on it. You see here, you got the little painted on tie, the buttons, the red tights. These were kind of cool because if you see here, you'd press down on the arms. Some of them had actions with the legs. You got the makeup here, very detailed. These action figures, the Hasbro's were, I grew up with these. These are, as you can see, considerably smaller as opposed to the LJN series. But, they were fun, and, it's what we had, But, they held up. You could fight them against the other wrestlers you had and, punch them and kick them and, so on and so forth. And then my next wrestler that I'm going to be reviewing of the Hasbro series is none other than the Dead Man, the Undertaker. Now, this one was the rather common version of the Undertaker. The other version was it had a different color of beard. See, this one's red. I believe the other one was brown. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it was a different color. It was a mail away, and it actually came with the Undertaker coat. That would, it was a mail away, so they're very hard to find. But it's a relatively good likeness. You can see here the dead eyes of the Undertaker, and this was the original, debut gimmick of the Undertaker, with the old Western type outfit, the gray gloves, the black hat. This one, you would twist it, and you'd let it go like this, and it would punch. Now, this didn't make any sense to me considering his finisher was the tombstone. Obviously, you can't make a figure that does the tombstone action. You have to do that yourself. But, these were really cool. They had a lot of more of articulation than the LJNs did. Because, let's face it, the LJNs had no articulation whatsoever. These were a lot tougher. They were made out of plastic. Parts of it were rubber. But they held up a lot better. You could be a lot rougher with them. I mean, I wasn't because I didn't want to chip the paint on them. But they were a lot of fun. It came with a blue Hasbro ring, which I will be doing a review of that as well. It came with the WWF Championship belt, a flag, and, you know, it was just the red, white, and blue ropes. It was a smaller ring compared to the LJN ring, which was gigantic, which I also have one of those as well. And coming up here is certainly a legend, the eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant. Now this one, I don't really understand what's going on here, what action this was supposed to do, because if you see here, basically he just rocks back and forth. What is that supposed to be? Is that supposed to be like a headbutt, like this? I mean, Andre, his finisher was the choke slam. And he'd, you know, and he'd body slam guys, and, you know, this just didn't, I don't know. I don't know what they were trying to do here. This wasn't a great face scan of Andre, but it's what we had at the time. As you can see here, it's pretty good. I mean, they were pretty good for the time, you know, early, mid-90s. But the Hasbros, as every collector know out there, a lot of them are very hard to find. The more common ones, such as the ones that I showed you, are relatively pretty easy to find. Bart Gunn and Billy Gunn, the smoking guns, are difficult. The mail-away Undertaker, the mail-away Hogan, the 1-2-3 Kid, the Shawn Michaels with the white pants and the red hearts on them are relatively hard to find. Also, there is I'm trying to think of it. Oh, forgive me. But there are a lot of the ones that were listed on the green cards, which were at the end of the series, which for some reason were harder to find, such as Ludwig von Borga was difficult to find. There was also a Boss Man that looked a little bit different variations. There were a lot of different variants that are hard to find. Dusty Rhodes is relatively pretty expensive. The alternate Marty Jannetty. The Hasbros are relatively a collector's dream. For the most part, a lot of them you can find for anywhere between $3 to $5 a piece. Some of them can go anywhere between $50, $100, $150 a piece with the accessories. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any of the accessories with these figures. I purchased them, had them from when I was a child. Obviously, they got lost. But the Hasbro series was recently tried to be duplicated, and that was not successful. And they tried to make these little itty-bitty rubber figures called Rumblers. These things are absolutely hideous. They had small heads, big arms, small legs. They look absolutely just stupid. But these are definitely a nostalgic overload. I love the Hasbro series. A lot of people give them a lot of flack because they weren't very accurate when it comes to the face scans, you know, but, you know, for me, they're very cool. They're very unique. They're great for any collector. For people that are starting out, you can find them for relatively cheap. They don't take up a lot of space. And there's a lot of figures that currently Mattel or Jakks never made again after this. So it's definitely something that you should look into. I would suggest eBay, look at garage sales, antique stores, stuff like that. But, you know, like with any action figure series, like I said before, there are a lot of the ones that you will not find in order to get a complete set. But that's all for us here at Dr. Nick's Toy Time Machine. Please like this video, subscribe, find me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and I hope everybody has a good one.